I'm Elinor Scully. I'm the head of the Langley School, and I'm joined today by Phil Petru, our assistant head of school. And we are very excited to give you a brief introduction to our school and program and to tell you a little bit about some of the latest research that is informing how we design the program here at Langley. We want to talk a little bit about our values and how we conceive of our educational philosophy and mission and what makes our classrooms unique. The picture to your right is Phil Petru and me during our annual Halloween celebration. Lots of fun and joy in our environment, and we just thought you might get a kick out of seeing administrators dressed in their Halloween finery. But let me tell you a little bit about our school. Langley is a preschool through 8th grade school. We are an independent day school located in McLean, Virginia. 51% of our students are girls and 49% are young boys. 38% of our families self-identify as being diverse in some way, so it's a very diverse and inclusive school environment. We have a 7-to-1 student-teacher ratio, so our classes are small and intimate, so students really get to know their teachers, and more importantly, the teachers get to know the children very, very well. And we really privilege a model that puts students, teachers, and parents at the center of our program and our interactions. Some of the research that's been done over the last 5 to 6 years has really given a school like Langley much to consider with regard to the focus of our program. And what we know is that the early years of a child's educational experience, particularly those formative preschool and early elementary years, really lay a vital foundation for children. And there's research now that says that if you spend time not only developing the intellectual capacity and the academic abilities of young children, but pay careful attention to their social and emotional competence in the young years, they do better in life. So the Fast Track Project was a longitudinal study that looked at kindergartners who were rated positively by their teachers in some core social and emotional competencies and tracked them over many decades to see how they fared in college and in young adulthood. And what is clear is that children who develop social and emotional competence when they are young are much more likely to engage in pro-social behaviors as young adults. And so that means that they stay away from things that are negative. They're much less likely to be involved in the criminal justice system or to have substance abuse problems, and they're much more likely to be engaged constructively and positively in their communities. This is important research because it shapes how we approach our philosophy of teaching and education. So again, I just thought it would be helpful for some parents as you're looking at schools and thinking about programs to be cognizant of the power of this social and emotional education. Also, there are data that have been drawn from studies abroad that say it's really not enough to focus on children's academic development and achievement, that indeed one of the most powerful things you can do for a child is to help them develop these core emotional and social strengths, particularly in the areas of self-management and self-awareness and social awareness. This not only makes them more likely to be successful in the academic program, but they have more productive and successful social relationships. They are better members of their communities and their families. And again, all of this puts them on a path to not only maximizing what they can learn within the academic curriculum, but also having behaviors later in life that are correlated with their success and achievement. Richard Weisford is a Harvard professor who's done a lot of important research on raising children with a strong sense of moral compass and a strong ethical foundation. Rick's work has focused on children and helping parents to think about how to raise children who are not only kind and thoughtful, but also morally grounded. And Rick's work really stresses the importance of moving away from hyper-focusing on students' achievement in the athletic realm or in the academic realm, and having a more balanced approach to thinking what a child, the capacities a child needs to develop, particularly in the areas of empathy and collaboration and cooperation. So I recommend his book to you if you haven't had a chance to read any of his work. He's really a pioneer, I think, in helping families and schools think about how to raise morally grounded, good young people who can make contributions in the world and ultimately then be successful in school because they have this, again, more balanced approach to thinking about who they are. So Langleys Philosophy, a little bit about our school. We are a school where we do two things really well. We have a vital sophisticated academic program that is scaffolded to meet a diverse range of learners and to support their cognitive growth, while we also recognize that childhood is a very precious and profoundly important stage of development. It is not to be rushed, it's not to be overlooked, because in childhood, if you lay an appropriate foundation around academic and intellectual life and social and emotional capacity, children will be fine when they leave us and head off to high school and college. But this time is really precious. And we live in a very fast-paced world. There's a lot of pressure for kids to grow up quickly. We slow that down at Langley and savor the stages of development that happen from preschool through 8th grade, because we know that there are fundamental skills that develop in childhood that are essential for success later in life. So our program is about strong academics and social and emotional competence, while understanding that childhood is a profoundly important stage of life and development. So our lived values, again, the stage of childhood is not to be passed through or to be taken lightly. It's really the whole focus of what we do in our program. Again, for the reasons that I've mentioned before, that if you work with 3-, 4-, 5-year-olds and allow them to develop a really strong foundation, you then launch them into elementary school and middle school poised to take full advantage of a complex curriculum. And so again, the people that choose to work at Langley are experts in early childhood education. They are drawn to working with this age group for very intentional purposes, because they see sort of the power and the wonder and the essential nature of that those early childhood years as being so vital and important. We also, as I've said before, based on the research that we've shared in this PowerPoint, believe that tending to a child's social and emotional growth is not a supplement to their academic achievement, but it's actually the thing that ensures it. We know that children who are anxious, who are worried, who are carrying negative feelings or having difficult social interactions their brains aren't freed up to learn the things that they need to be learning. They can't attend to a literacy lesson, or they can't do a beautiful piece of artwork if, in fact, they are riddled with anxiety or feelings that get in the way of their learning. So again, having a terrific academic program that is supported by a wonderful approach to social and emotional learning allows kids to enter the classroom ready to learn and engage material freely. We also believe passionately that it is the strength of our community that encourages children to feel safe to take intellectual risks, to step outside of their comfort zone, empowering them to see that there are opportunities for them to be successful, but also to take risks that mean that they might not get something exactly right. And we want that. We know that children who don't encounter any moments of challenge or adversity don't fare well later in life, that they need to be in an environment where it's safe to take sensible risks and to try things, knowing that they might not get it exactly right, to try out for the lead in the play or to volunteer to be a captain of an athletic team, so that they get leadership opportunity and they can test out their skills without necessarily feeling like there's too much on the line if they make a mistake. We also believe that early adolescence deserves special focus and attention. And there's been some really interesting research that just came out very, very recently that suggested that children who enter early adolescence and the middle school years in a school where they are the quote-unquote top dogs, you may have heard this piece on NPR, that they do better socially in school, that there are the rates of bullying or negative social behavior are much less frequent in schools where the 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are the oldest students in the school. And again, we believe that by giving kids that platform to end our program at 8th grade and then decide, hey, where should I go to high school once I leave Langley, that we give them a unique leadership opportunity, and they know more about who they are as learners, and then their early adolescent years really are full of the opportunity to lead and to be mature and to be the leaders of the school in a way that they might not if they were sandwiched between other grade levels. And again, our middle school teachers are expert on these years. They know exactly what it's like to be a 7th grader and to feel all of the sort of conflicting emotions that come with growing up and moving into high school eventually. So I'm going to ask Phil, our assistant head of school, to tell you a little bit about what the academic program looks like at Langley, because we have a really unique model, and I think you'll enjoy hearing more about the academic side.
Thank you, Elinor. So I'm going to talk a little bit about our inquiry-based approach to teaching and learning at the Langley School. So breaking it down, what is it, what do we see, and what skills will kids develop as for being a part of it? So in the classroom, this is not your traditional model of education that probably many of you grew up with in elementary school. It's not quickly, I guess, giving back content or recalling quick facts. It's diving deep into big themes, getting a chance for kids to collaborate, to reflect. So, and it's looking at what we call essential questions, questions that aren't simply yes or no answers. They're debatable, they're higher order thinking. It's giving kids an opportunity to go deep into things that are relevant to them and meaningful to them. So rather than asking something simple like, defining what is a community, we might ask kids, what is community and what does it mean to be a part of it? Or rather than in the middle school saying, list the causes of a revolution, we might ask, are there revolutions, and for what reasons, why, and why are they justified? So it's giving a kid's chance to go deep into it, to explore it, and really do something with it. And so what would you see in the classroom? We like to say it's deep engagement. It's giving the kids the opportunity to work with each other. You would see students in small groups. You would see kids in whole groups. You'd see conversations going on. Being agile in their learning, adapting to different learning styles, and really fostering the curiosity and imagination of it. So in the primary school, that could be kids navigating through dramatic play in the classroom, to something more complex where kids are working on teams for debate in the middle school. And what that produces, which are so important when you talk to employers, you talk to universities today, that they don't want kids that can simply just recall information. They want kids that can do things with information. So that's critical thinkers, students with effective communication skills who can write, who can speak well, and can look up information and do something with it quickly. The other important thing I want to really emphasize at Langley is teacher quality. You can have a great program, which we believe we have, but not having the right people to implement it is a problem. And so we invest heavily in our people, and especially our faculty. There's a lot of studies out there that are coming out there, two in particular that come to mind. Linda Darling-Hammond out of Stanford, Richard Ingersoll out of the University of Pennsylvania, are saying that teacher quality is by far the most important thing in student learning. And even refuting the facts that more important than demographics, more important than poverty, class size, gender, and so on. And so because of that, we spend time, resources in investing in our faculty to go to conferences, to speak, to learn, and to continue their own professional development with it. And we also spend a lot of time in our hiring process. So recruiting, looking for the best people, looking for the right fit, and then when they're here, investing in their continued learning. But once they're here, besides doing that and hiring the right people, we also look at providing them feedback. Many schools across the country will do a traditional method of feedback where it's one observation, where a supervisor comes in, sees the teacher for 30 or 40 minutes, and then offers feedback, and that's it. What we do at Langley is that we spend multiple times in the classroom speaking with faculty, looking at what's going on in terms of instruction, engaging with kids, and then offering more consistent and meaningful feedback throughout the year. So what that means is, rather than being in a classroom with instructional leadership and teachers once a year for 40 minutes, we're in there 8, 10, multiple times, talking to teachers, seeing kids, watching the results, watching the achievement, and having those conferences to improve instruction and also provide the resources that are necessary for kids. So we have those mini ones that go out throughout the year. We have mid-year conferences with our faculty, and we also, at the end of the year, recap what was strong, where we need to grow, and where we're going with our own professional development. So what's that mean for the Langley graduates? Well, it means kids that are unbelievably prepared for not only high schools but college and employment, kids that are flexible, kids that are able to try new things, kids that are poised and kind and compassionate. And we see that, we hear that back from the high schools we send kids to, we hear it back from the universities, and we even hear it in some employment situations where our kids are just doing incredible work.
Thank you, Phil. So obviously we're throwing a lot of information at you, but if there was one message that I would hope you would leave this conversation sort of top of mind, would be this notion that if you get the foundation right, anything and everything is possible. We believe that passionately because we have such developmental expertise in these early middle, and middle school years, and our graduates, as Phil said, leave us poised to do some remarkable work at the high schools to which they matriculate and the colleges they attend thereafter. But we'll pause here because I think it's an opportunity to get to some questions, and we've already had some that have come in. But I did want to give you a little bit of a sense of how you could go deeper. A webinar, especially one that had a little bit of technical difficulty, getting starting a little late, is just sort of scratching the surface. So if you are interested in learning more, please come to our next information session at Langley. That's on October 21st at 9 a.m. Or you can call up our admission office and schedule a tour. Obviously, we have many people who learn about us lots of different ways, but the best way to honestly get a feel for the place is to come on campus, because that's where the magic happens, and you got to feel the place and meet the people. So we're going to turn to questions now, and I think we've had a couple come in. I'm going to quickly look at my little webinar. One of the first questions is, how easily can parents schedule a meeting with teachers and talk about student progress? Well, here's the thing. When you come to an independent school like Langley, that is our bread and butter. You can schedule a meeting whenever you want, and our teachers are sort of have unlimited capacity to meet with you and discuss student progress. That said, we also have a wonderful learning management system that's built into our program, so teachers can log on and they have access to an update that tells you exactly what's going on in the classroom. So Phil mentioned essential questions. You would be able to know, what are the essential questions that our 3-year-olds are grappling with? What are our kindergartners asking? What is an 8th grader taking up? And so you get fed a lot of information about what's going on. You get a lot of detailed reporting about how your child is doing. We have parent-teacher conferences that happen twice a year where you come in and actually meet and kind of do a deep dive with the teachers on your child, and you find out how they're doing across the board in all of their subject areas. But more than anything, it's a partnership. So you can send an email and say to your child's classroom teacher, hey, you know, our dog is really sick and we're going through a rough patch, just keep an eye on our son or daughter. And similarly, a teacher might pick up the phone and say, hey, your son or daughter had a great day. There was a big breakthrough in their learning. Or today was hard because, you know, PE didn't go so well. We see that transparent partnership and conversation as being an essential part of what you get in this community. And you know, we have teachers that watch these young people grow up and are tearful at graduation, and we have relationships and bonds that start here between the faculty and staff and parents that last long beyond a student's time here at our school. So that's really what you're getting in an independent school environment like Langley. You're getting that one-on-one, in-depth attention and relationship with your child's teachers. So another question that has surfaced was one of our participants did see the report on NPR. What are some of the examples of how Langley helps students develop that role as top dog? So there are lots of ways to do that. Obviously, we have a student council and a student government that's run by middle schoolers, and there's no one above them. They are the leaders. They lead meetings. We also have a couple of buddy programs where we partner younger students with older students. So for example, all of our kindergartners are given an 8th grade buddy that they see on a regular basis during the school year. So the 8th grade buddies come down and they read to their kindergarten buddies. They come and do activities with their kindergarten buddies. Similarly, we have a buddy program between our 1st graders and our 5th graders. So we like, one of the things that makes the environment so safe, honestly, is that our older students really see themselves as role models and caretakers for the younger children, and they take that so seriously. They know that when they have a kindergarten buddy, they need to get down on their level and sit with them, and they learn about, frankly, where they are in terms of their development as a young child, and they can't wait to be able to offer that. We had an 8th grader graduate this year from our school, and 2 things happened. One, that 8th grader's kindergarten buddy came to graduation to support them, and then we also had another graduate who was graduating, and their 8th grade buddy from way back when came back to see them graduate. So those are important relationships, and it just cultivates a kind of maturity, a sense of leadership and ownership for the program, and it really puts kids on a path to being responsible sort of leaders of the school. Another question, what is your acceptance rate, particularly to the earliest year for 3-year-olds? So our acceptance rate varies depending every year based on the applicant pool. But we are, one of the things that we value very much at Langley School is seeing our preschool as one of our primary entry points. And depending, there are times this year we had a lot of interest in a particular grade level, and we were able to expand a little bit in that grade level. So our acceptance rate is going to vary, but the best thing to do is come on campus, get a feel for the process. A lot of what happens when you're evaluating a 3-year-old is really evaluating fit, because we don't have a lot of information about how someone is going to do academically, but it's about making sure the child is school ready, the family is ready, that our philosophy meshes and matches what you're looking for. So if you have a 3-year-old and you're thinking about a first placement for your child, I would really encourage you to come and get on campus, get into a preschool classroom, get a feel for what the day is like. We have options to do a full day program for some of our 3-year-olds, but we also have options for a half day. And so it really just depends on sort of who the child is, where they are emotionally and cognitively. But I wouldn't worry about acceptance as a reason to not come look, because again, it's really about fit and match at that stage. One more question. Let's see. What preparation should a 3-year-old have prior to beginning school? That's an excellent question. Thank you so much for asking. So, one of the things that we want is we're assessing with a 3-year-old really just their readiness to be in school. So it's not like they need to have been read to, X number of times a night. They don't have to have numbers down and letters down. What they really need to be able to do is to join a community of other children their age and to be able to feel comfortable at school. It's our job to kind of assess where they are in their emerging literacy and language skills, to be able to help them with whatever learning needs to happen in the early years. It's really about just socializing them to be ready to join school. And as a parent, being ready to think about what that means for you to join a community. And so again, for the 3-year-olds, it's really about school readiness. We sometimes have families that come and look at us, and it's a very young 3, and they're just not ready for stamina-wise to be in school. And so that would be a family that might wait a year. But we'll help you with that, because our admission process is geared to expose them through a visit and a play experience on campus to see, are they ready to kind of be in school and to be in this kind of structured environment. So there's not anything specifically that I would advise you to do other than to come have a look at the environment to see how your child does while they come for a visit. And we would partner with you to assess sort of the age and emotional maturity of your child. We have been using this webinar as a format to give you some exposure to who we are philosophically. But again, our invitation is really come visit us, get to know us, come to the campus, spend some time learning more about who we are. Thank you so much for taking some time here at lunchtime to get to know us a little bit, and we look forward to seeing you on campus. Many thanks.